Good morning and welcome to the Ranch Report podcast for this Monday, June the 29th, 2026. My name is Mark Falcone and I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Just as I recited today's date, I thought to myself, wow, 2026 is officially halfway over. And with our ever-changing world and constant daily flux, I'm of the opinion and in fact expecting the back half of 2026 to be far more intense than what we have experienced so far in this first half of the year. So for whatever it's worth, stay safe and I guess prepare the best you can. Anyway, in this episode, I'm going to provide a few updates to topics that we have discussed in the past, as well as provide updates on some new topics. Let's begin with the Verizon cell tower. If you recall, in March, the City Planning Commission rejected Verizon's conditional use permit on the basis the project had too many deviations to the Highland Municipal Code. The vote at that time was 3-2 to deny the Verizon cell tower. In April, city staff brought the formal denial back to the Planning Commission. However, during the discussion, I got the sense that 2 of the 3 commissioners who originally opposed the tower were now on the fence, possibly looking to change their vote. The Planning Commission at that time directed staff to bring the project back in May to provide Verizon the opportunity to correct any missteps they had in their March presentation. During the May Planning Commission meeting, despite Verizon not correcting any of their deviations to the municipal code, the Commission this time voted 4-1 to approve the cell tower. Essentially, the Commission used the fact they have power to supersede the municipal code when it comes to cell towers. So the cell tower has indeed been approved. The only holdup now is the lease negotiations with East Highlands Ranch. Once that is finalized with legal, hopefully within the next, 30-60 days, we will then see construction of the cell tower. Moving on to the Baseline Crosswalk. For those of you that frequent Baseline Street in and out of the ranch, I am sure you have seen the tall poles that were recently installed. These poles will be utilized for the flashing beacon safety enhancement. Just after installing these poles, it was determined one eucalyptus tree on the westbound side of Baseline would need to be removed. The curvature growth of this tree made it such that it would impede the view of the flashing beacon. The city is expected to cover the total cost of the removal of the tree, and in fact had been working with EHR staff and our landscaper Brightview to coordinate the removal when it was discovered the tree was home to a hawk's nest. In addition, a few homeowners had complained to the city about the removal of the tree and advocated for alternatives to the beacon placement. As a result of the hawk's nest, this safety enhancement at the Baseline pathway has been delayed until the hawks have departed, which I have been told will be around September. The city is also planning to enhance the Water Street pathway intersection with the same type of safety apparatus, and I expect that to take place probably within the early part of 2027. And I know some of you contacted me about the intersection of Highland and Clover Hill. I reached out to the city about placing a beacon at this location, but they do not install the beacons at a 4-way stop intersection. In theory, vehicles are to stop at the stop signs, but we all know these days that is merely a suggestion. A few updates from last Wednesday's board meeting. I want to thank everyone that turned out and spoke at our board meeting last week. Attendance was a little softer than what it has been in the past, but it is officially summer now, so I guess softer attendance should be expected. Several homeowners spoke on issues they have surfaced in the past with no response or resolution. So going forward, within a week of each board meeting, the board will now receive from staff a spreadsheet of all those who addressed the board, their issues, staff's response, and the resolution of each issue raised. This should eliminate homeowners having to return to speak on unresolved issues. The remediation of the southern portion of the Bledsoe Gulch has been approved. This is the area on the southeast corner of Church and Baseline that has experienced massive erosion over the last half dozen years or so. The board selected Larry Jacinto Construction as the contractor for this project with a total cost of $368,725. The ranch had secured a grant for this project in the amount of $108,000, which will be used to offset some of the cost. Once we have a fully executed contract, we will then receive a construction schedule from Jacinto. So now we have two projects set for this one area, the cell tower and the Gulch remediation. I'm not sure which will be first to go, but my hunch is the Gulch project will probably be first up. For those that frequent the Ranch Meadows pathway from the pool up to baseline, you know a few years ago we began to change out the pathway lights. We went from a low profile light to a foot-high pedestal style light. These lights were approved back then sight unseen by the previous board. Once installed, we realized these lights were not of the quality we intended to have. Since then, for the last couple of years, the pathway light replacement project had been put on hold pending a search for and approval of new lights. Last Wednesday, staff presented to the board 3 types of new pedestal style lights. These lights were certainly of a much better quality and far more durable. However, the board discussion revolved around, do we want pedestal lights or do we want low profile lights? I happen to favor a low profile light similar to what we currently have around the lake and our other pathways. There was also discussion on the quantity of lights needed, total cost, the installation phase, and the time frame for installation. So this item was tabled until staff could provide this information to the board. Moving on to the men's restroom at the Ranch Meadows Pool, the board approved a contractor to demo and replace the current epoxy flooring in the men's restroom at the Ranch Meadows Pool complex. The total cost for this replacement is $26,757. $4,000 of this total was originally designated to install new epoxy flooring at the restrooms at the lake. However, on Wednesday, staff recommended to the board that we have our in-house maintenance team install the epoxy at the lake restrooms. The board agreed with this recommendation, thus saving $4,000. Once the contractor agrees to and fully executes our contract, work will then begin. Once construction commences, you should probably expect the men's restroom at Ranch Meadows to be closed for a period of about 10 days. In the event the contractor does not agree to the language in our contract, we will then need to go out for bid again for full replacement. The board agreed the recent purchase of the large Berber area rugs and the honeycomb blind window coverings at the Spring Lake Clubhouse really had a negligible effect on improving the acoustics. The board directed staff to get quotes for wall and ceiling panels in the hopes this will finally solve the very long-standing and, believe me, very frustrating acoustic issue in that location. The board is also looking to enhance our website to better serve our residents and the community. We had received 3 bids, however, our scope of work was not clearly defined, and as a result, the 3 bids we received were not apples to apples. So this item will be brought back to the board with bids that more closely align with a redefined scope of work. We now have a new committee. The board approved all 12 applicants to serve on our newly formed Disaster Preparedness Committee. This committee's first task will be to work with staff to develop their committee charter. And once that charter is approved, the committee will then be tasked with developing, implementing, and maintaining an emergency response plan for East Highlands Ranch. I want to talk a minute about an IT upgrade. Due to the fact Microsoft will no longer support the Windows 10 operating system past October of this year, all of our computers in the office need to be replaced. The board approved the purchase of 7 desktops and 3 laptops with the Windows 11 operating system. The total replacement cost is $15,312. And finally, I have some good news on e-bikes. The board approved a proposed rule change to our common areas, adding e-bikes class 1, 2, and 3 as prohibited on any of our common areas. This proposed change will be posted for the required 28-day comment period. And once that comment period is over, it will then be brought back to the board with all comments for adoption. If adopted, the e-bike rule will then be enforced just as all other rules are enforced. And with that, all of you are now up to speed on the latest and greatest goings on in the ranch. Before you go, do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support is truly appreciated. Just want to say enjoy your 4th of July weekend, stay safe, and thank you for watching the Ranch Report. Take care.